So my book was the Practical Handbook for the Emerging Artist. It related basically to my industry. I'm going for art and graphic design. I really enjoyed reading this book. I've had it and hadn't had a chance to read it, and I was glad to get this opportunity. Basically, what this goes through is everything from why are you making art, like what are you doing with it, to marketing yourself, networking, dealing with galleries, the different types of galleries. What do you want to do with your art? What do you want to do for a career? Most people can't make art just to survive. And even just the practicality of, half of your time needs to be dedicated to promoting yourself and the business side. So if you're only putting 10 hours a week in art, like you need to do 5, either reaching out to businesses, looking for calls for entry, updating your contacts with galleries, going out networking, all like the other aspects that you deal with. But there's also a lot of practicality in here, a lot of good resources for me to turn back on in the future as I'm dealing with these issues. Even how to write a press release, examples for that, grants. I'm considering getting my master's, and it even talked about that and the reasons why or why not to, and what to look for and consider. Let's see, I'm trying to think. Yeah, basically it starts off talking about your artwork, how to develop yourself as an artist, having cohesive bodies of work, why are you making art, what is your goal with it, and then it goes kind of into your resumes and presenting yourself, photographing your work correctly. Let's see what else. And then there's a lot on galleries and other venues, and I really learned a lot with this, even though my focus has been really like not-for-profit or like studio gallery, like studio-based galleries and community-based studio galleries, basically. Looking kind of at not-for-profit type ones. I didn't really know as much about like alternative spaces, or I guess there were just facts about galleries and how some of the things work, or even about people that curate shows that don't necessarily work for a gallery or anywhere. They just spend their time like curating a show. That's what they do. They get all the artists together. They have some kind of idea or something. They put either in a current space or like renting a house for a month and then turning it into a gallery, and you just show up and that's its own exhibit. And I think so there's a lot of great ideas, I think, to explore, and it really helped me out more than just going and looking at the galleries that I can find around here or the local businesses that show art. So those are really the only examples I saw around here. I wasn't able to get to Rapid as much as I wanted to see any of the galleries. But for the most part, I looked at like Lead and Spearfish, and I do always look at the art at local businesses and stuff when I go. And it was hard for me to kind of, with my goals, like watch people interacting, because a lot of times when I was there, like nobody showed up, at least in like the actual galleries around here. So that is definitely a big thing to consider. And I know they get more traffic when they have like events or other things going on, but it's kind of crazy to see. And I guess it makes sense, but that is a good thing to consider and look at. And then there was like alternative jobs. And it's funny because I've had a hard time I'm usually a good writer, and with some of my art projects, I've had a hard time articulating myself when it's come to the writing side or saying an artist statement. And maybe it's just, I don't give myself enough time to do it, and I'm not in the right mindset at that time. But there was a lot of good stuff in here about doing that kind of things, or even the idea of getting, public support. And there's even like brief info on like legal things to consider. So I don't know. I mean, there's a little bit about entrepreneurship itself, because they talk about, I guess, how do I say this? The academic side of art is always exploring, always pushing, pushing it back against like maybe the established galleries. That's been happening since modern art started. So in that aspect, there was like a little bit of talk about the entrepreneurship side of art and art shows. But for the most part, it's really practical. It's called the Practical Handbook. It's very practical. It's the reality of what being an artist is about, and all the things that you need to deal with.